So today we've been through the original sprint version, and as you mentioned, it's good to like try this one, get your head around it. And then there's the Design Sprint 2.0, which I mentioned because you worked on that. I mean, it's not like completely not related.
I didn't work on it. I mean, I'm in the I've helped with the master class. Yeah, well, I approve of that approach.
The way it's I mentioned that because the way it's marketed, and you have like collaborated on it in some way.
Yeah.
And when you're like learning Design Sprint and you want to improve and know a lot, I tend to aggregate a lot. And so there's the original Design Sprint, but yet so he's worked on this Design Sprint 2.0, maybe just as a collaboration, and definitely AJ and Smart is like full steam ahead on it, and they're doing the main work. But it's very confusing because you're thinking, is that an improvement? Is that an evolution? Is that just a version that is compressed to fit like the market reality, which is it's very hard to book for 5 days. So let's try to find a way to put it in 4, which I feel is like optimized for speed, but not necessarily for qualitative discussion, which can be messy and take time, especially like storyboarding and steps like that, which can take a lot of time, which can be valuable or not. Anyway, just to sum it up, it's a little bit confusing. They have like the original version, the 2.0 improved or compressed. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going. So unless I get this wrong in the answer, I'll take a shot at it. So, I mean, first of all, I'm sorry that it's confusing. The name Design Sprint 2.0 is, really good marketing on their part. I think it's worked well, and they're good at marketing in general. And I really like working with them because I think that they, in the spirit of the sort of the changes that they've made, are informed by their experience as an agency doing lots and lots of sprints, and starting with the original recipe and then finding adaptations that worked for them. And that's the way I like for people to think about it. And I think that if you're running an agency, it's a really helpful starting place because, as you said, it's very hard to sell or convince people to do 5 days. And I was in a super weird situation. I mean, I'm inside a company where there are all these different projects and people are pretty open to trying new things at Google, and then working at Google Ventures is a very weird situation to be an investor where they, I'm not really selling it to them so much as saying, as an investor, I think this will help you. So I like the fact that they have figured out a way where they can say, okay, look, if you give us 2 days, if you come and collaborate with us for 2 days, and then we'll do the prototyping and testing, and it's 4 days total. And then as an agency, they can sort of maintain, sort of function because they have a 5th day where they can do all the other stuff you need to do. It's all smart stuff. And we could get into 5 days versus 4 days versus 3 days. And if somebody wants to ask that question, we can talk about that. But just in terms of like the marketing of it, I would say like what we talked about today is not really in conflict with that approach, the Design Sprint 2.0. Yeah, like maybe it would be helpful if it had some different name, but it doesn't really bother me that it has that name. And I mean, somebody else, there's another agency who markets the Design Sprint 3.0. I mean, it's all fine. Like in the net, if people are talking about this, I was talking to somebody over lunch about there are a point at which the process breaks. And it's why I mentioned try the original recipe first. There's a point at which it breaks when you change things too much. And some people do it without testing, without even prototyping, or they don't have a decider, or there are things that I think cause more damage to it than shortening it by a day if it's done smart. So to a large degree, I'm motivated to have people do their work smarter because so much of the work, there's so much stuff that happens in workplaces that's so unfortunately dumb, and so much time that's wasted and energy that's wasted on politics and things. And I really like when people, in whatever way they want to talk about it, help spread the word and teach ways to work better. So that's I'm happy to be associated with them and work with them because I think they do good work. I think they're good at teaching, especially good at teaching over video, which is super powerful because not everybody can come to these events, and a lot of folks might, even if they could come to an event, might want to follow up or see some details of something later. So it's it does create confusion, and because it's not like this super branded, like there's only one way or the highway and there's like a big stamp on it or something. It's not really like that. So that does also create kind of, some ambiguity. But I also like that the design sprint works in that way, because I think it's allowed people to create some ownership of it and create some businesses, and that has helped to spread it. We're all here because Steph and his team have made a business of it, and that is a way to sort of make an event like this happen. So I think it's good, and we just have to over time figure out how to manage the confusion as much as possible.
Actually, running an agency, we started the same way. I mean, the first sprints I was selling were 4 days. Just because when you come with a recipe that's 5 days, someone's like, "Oh, can you do it cheaper?" And you say, "Yeah, I can do it cheaper, but it's gonna be shorter." Okay, so let's do 4 days. And it's just that simple as this. And we have been running some 4 days for some time. I tried 3 days. I tried a lot, all the formats. I came back to 5 days. After now, we have run more than 90 sprints over the last 4 years. We came back to 5 days because we think it's more, globally, it's more, you can discuss more, as you said, discuss more with corporates. People are not digital savvy, they are not expert. 4 days works for agencies, it works for folks at Google, for startups, some people who are deeply into products. If it's your first sprint, if you are a big corporate, you should go for 5 days. It's not gonna change anything. Budgets are here for real. If you think about how long a project can be, how costly it can be, it's not 1 day of difference that's gonna change anything. And the reason why we prefer to do 5 days instead of 4 as an agency is that basically you're gonna discover the problems on day one. It's the mapping process, and then you have the sketching process. So finding ideas. You saw firsthand how hard it is to find ideas the same day. You discover the problem, then you have to find ideas. So we think that mapping first day and then sketching on the second day, you have 1 night to think well about it, and yeah, you find just better ideas, deeper. And you're not just putting on paper what you already had thought about. So that's the reason why we do that. But yeah, I agree, it's harder to sell. Out of 5 days, basically we ask our clients to be here 3.5 days, meaning that the first 3 days we do all together, day 4 we are prototyping as an agency for them. And then the last day we record the user test in the morning, and then we watch the video all together. This works really well with corporates, and it's not more costly actually.
One question. Have you ever split like 1 day over 5 weeks, or half of the time? The 5 days, have you ever split them over another period?
Yes, it's not ideal for sure, because you have to sort of reboot when you come back. So splitting it over 2 days has worked. I've seen it work over, 2 weeks, I mean. We have 1 weekend in between. More than that, I would only do it in like an extreme situation where it involved testing. Like it was for some reason really hard to get the testing together. It's really hard to maintain like over 5 weeks that thread. So much of what works in the sprint is that as we go, things are building on each other, and everybody's got the same context, and so we're able to move sort of faster and faster. And like I could imagine doing like the prototype after we started this thing 4 weeks ago, and I'm probably wondering, is this still the right target? So I'd try to avoid it, but over 2 weeks is not crazy.